Hi, everyone, and welcome to the information session on the Luksic Scholarship for a Doctorate in Political Science at MIT. My name is Gabrielle Trasati, and I'm the International Outreach Coordinator for La Fundación Luksic, the Luksic Foundation. And we are here today, of course, to talk about this wonderful opportunity to complete a doctorate there at MIT, their Department of Political Science. Essentially, for today's event, we're hoping that you come away with helpful and useful information, see if this program is right for you, learn more about the Luksic Scholarship, learn more about the application details, what one can expect of the program. So that we'll have Professor Ben Ross Schneider. He's here joining us to give us all of the details in terms of what this program looks like. And then we do have a scholar experience segment with Clemente Sánchez, who's currently on program, about, I think, halfway through now. So we'll get to hear what his experience and insights have been like actually being on the program. And then, of course, we will have time for a Q&A if there are any questions. We do want to make sure this is a good space for you guys to answer any of those doubts, really get to know the program, and see if this is for you. We will make sure this is being recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording via email. It will also be on our YouTube channel, just in case you need to go back to any parts. So thank you for your time today. I will just share a bit of information on the foundation, the types of opportunities we have available, and I will then pass it over to Professor Ben. In terms of the Luksic Foundation as a whole, we're now talking specifically about our programs in international education, but the foundation also has initiatives in education, namely technical training, technical vocational training, as well as entrepreneurship, sports, and then additional support, which is in the form of emergencies and donations. So for example, when the wildfires occurred earlier this year, we went to the Valparaiso region to help hand kits, emergency kits to families and children, for example. In regards to our area of international education, here's where our vision is really to connect Chile with the world and create stronger opportunities and connections between Chile and the global academic community. And we do this, of course, in collaboration with international institutions such as the Department of Political Science at MIT. We've been partnering with them since 2011 to be able to provide these wonderful doctorate opportunities for Chilean students. In terms of our history, we actually began over 20 years ago in the year 2000. And since then, we have been able to implement over 30 types of programs across 7 countries in collaboration with more than 18 institutions. And now there's been a culmination of over 2,000 Luksic Scholars, so those who have participated in a program that we have supported. Clemente is a Luksic Scholar, so we're very lucky to have him as part of the community. He'll be able to talk a bit more about those benefits and opportunities as well. This Luksic Scholars community was essentially created to continue to offer post-program opportunities, additional types of support to those who complete, whether that be a master's program, this doctorate program, international fellowship, for example, any of the different types of opportunities that we offer. And so here's actually a bit of a screenshot of what that looks like, the different types of international programs that we have. There are full master's scholarships. These are international. You can find these on our website at luksicscholars.org. These include the tuition, living stipend, also arrival cost. And in terms of the research where we're going to focus on today, there are fellowships for academics and, of course, this wonderful doctorate program in political science at MIT, which is fully funded. We'll talk a bit more about that, especially Professor Ben, who we have here today. And lastly, we do have courses in Chile in which we actually invite international experts to come to the country, different regions, as well as in the metropolitan region, to give these short courses. And so that includes all of the program implementation and essentially all of those who participate in these programs are then invited to the Luksic Scholars community, which is our international alumni network. So you may be asking, how do you access the Luksic Scholarship? This goes for actually any Luksic Scholarship that is available. And so today we're talking about the doctorate at MIT Poli Sci. First, you need to do research and understand the admissions and selection criteria for the programs of your interest. So what is it that they're going to ask for? What levels of English, for example, different types of transcripts and whatnot. If you find that you are eligible to apply, then apply to that program via the university. So in this case, apply through MIT. Follow their regular admissions, financial aid processes that will essentially have you being considered for the Luksic Scholarship, and then you'll await a response from the university itself. As a foundation, we're actually the last to know who has been selected for Luksic Scholarship. So all of the admission, selection, funding processes are carried out by the universities. And so here's again, a screenshot of the scholarships that we have in terms of research. And specifically on our collaboration with MIT and the Political Science Department. As I mentioned, this has been since 2011, and thankfully we have been able to support 9 Luksic Scholars to date, some of which have already completed the program, some of which, like Clemente, are still on program. I'm sure Ben will mention there are actually 3 Chilean students on this program, which is a great representation of sort of these cohorts of 10 to 15 students that they accept each year. You are living there in Cambridge 6 or 7 years. This is a fully funded opportunity, so full tuition, health coverage, a living stipend so that you can be comfortable, focus on your studies. And the application period every year is between October and December. This year, applications close on December 15th. We understand that the application process can be quite lengthy, so do keep in mind this is an annual opportunity. If perhaps this year isn't your year to apply, but next year is, certainly keep that in mind. And I know Ben will touch on this, but what is really special about this program is these smaller class sizes that lend it to be quite personalized. You really get to have nice connections between faculty and students. They also do offer a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities, so you can register for other classes within other departments at MIT and even Harvard University. I'm sure maybe Clemente will even touch on that as well. And as a foundation, every year there is one nomination or one scholarship that's available for a Chilean candidate. We do encourage you to apply, and of course, we're here to help with any information that you need. Of course, you can also reach out to the Political Science Department there at MIT in case there are any doubts. And just lastly, in terms of the support that the foundation provides, it is not just the financial support. We do hope to actually offer I would say to join you on your academic journey. So this is sort of the before, during, and after. A lot of our team members do travel. For example, I know we went to Cambridge just, I think it was a couple of years ago to meet with the scholars there on campus. We host breakfasts here in the office, for example. We offer a post-program fund. We also recently launched an on-program fund for those who are currently completing their studies. And so we really want you to feel that you have that institutional support, a bit more also, in complementing the financial support as well. So I will leave it there. Thank you for your time. Again, we'll send a recording of this and I will pass it over to Ben so he can provide detailed information on the program. Perfect.
Thank you, Gabrielle. And hello, everyone. Thank you for your interest in the program. We're very happy to have this partnership with the Luksic Foundation. And I say we, at the whole department, really. One of our practices is to discuss every student, graduate and undergraduate, once every semester. And in one of those meetings, my colleague said, "Oh, these Chilean students are doing so well, send us more of them." So they're very happy to have the 3 students we currently have, and we hope to keep recruiting more students. So yeah, let me say a couple things about the basics of how the program works. It starts out with 2 years of coursework, and many people, particularly applying from Latin America, will come with a master's degree already, which is not at all necessary. Can apply straight out of undergraduate. But some students arrive here with a lot of background in political science. and find some duplication with the courses that we offer. But we do want people to take our courses to understand how we approach the subject. And so 2 years of coursework is 16 courses total, and most of those will be in the department. This very strong methods component that Clemente knows well usually takes 4 of those semesters. There's a sequence of courses in quantitative methods that runs the full 2 years. Then the other 12 courses are usually distributed across the students' 2 main fields. And the fields are 5, the way we break down the discipline. It's methodology, American politics, IR, and what we call security studies, comparative politics, and political economy. So students, they don't have to decide this before they get here, but early on in their coursework, they want to focus on the 2 fields that they want to select. And so most of your courses will be in those fields. As Gabriel said, we have close relations with Harvard, so you can take courses there if we don't offer something. But that said, we do encourage people to take most of their classes in the department. And that's partly also to get to know the faculty, because once you're done with courses and get through exams, then it's on to the dissertation, and you'll have to think about which faculty you want to pick as your dissertation committee. But that's getting ahead of things. First of all, you have to take exams, and that's where the fields come in. So you'll take, at the beginning of your 3rd year, 2 exams. One in that you have a major field and then a minor field among those 5 that I just mentioned. So that's why you want to focus your coursework around those. There's also a requirement to take something in political philosophy, or what we call political theory. We don't have many faculty working in that area. In fact, compared to other departments, we have only 1, whereas other bigger departments will have 5 or 6. But that's also one of the things, one of the areas that people sometimes go over to Harvard, although our faculty person, Bernardo Zacca, is a wonderful teacher, and most people wanted to study with him if they get a chance. The dissertation process then is something you students sort of think on their own a lot, read on their own a lot, try to figure out where they want to spend really the next 3 or 4 years of their lives researching and studying. So that topic, students also consult widely with faculty. You know, is this a good topic? Is this something where there'll be interest in new theorizing and new evidence? Or is this something that's been covered and I should look elsewhere? So there's a lot of discussion there on finding the right topic. But as Gabriel mentioned, ours is a small program. We have a incoming cohort of, usually we try to get 10 to 12 students each year. So we'll have 50 or 60 around the department at various stages, which is not tiny by comparison with other programs, but sort of medium. But where the faculty gain extra time to put into their graduate students is because of this small size of our undergraduate program. So we do not have many undergraduates here. We offer a range of political science courses, and MIT undergraduates are required to take a third of their courses in social sciences and the humanities. So they do come over here, take courses, and most, no, I think all students have a chance to be teaching assistants for courses with the undergraduates. But as I was saying, the important part is that for the graduate students is that the faculty have more time to devote to meeting with students, talking through various ideas, so that it's, I like to think, a fairly collaborative process to get to a dissertation topic, and then to the prospectus, which is your plan of research for the dissertation, which students are expected to present not only to their dissertation committee, but to the department by the end of their 3rd year. Then after that, they're given a stamp of approval and sent off for a year or two of research. That may involve particularly comparative politics and political economy. We encourage students to undertake field work in other countries, wherever their research takes them, and there are funds to support that in the department. But we send them off to these 2 years of research, but we do maintain contact. So there's a constant back and forth there with the students as we see what they're coming up with, what direction they're going, what dead ends they've hit, and so forth. And I think our expectation, the funding now has been extended from 5 years to 6 years. So it's 6 years of guaranteed funding as long as you're progressing normally within the program. And so we expect most students will be able to finish by their 6th, or sometimes it maybe go on into a 7th year. But usually we expect people, and students also expect to be looking for jobs in their 6th year and finishing up dissertations. I'm just checking. I guess one thing I missed there was the in the 2nd year, students in their final semester of coursework take a 2nd year paper workshop. And the 2nd year paper is sort of a first try at writing a sort of professional research paper, and one that I certainly encourage it, that should have something to do with testing out ideas that you might want to work on for a dissertation. But it's written, with faculty guidance over that 2nd semester of 2nd year, and that's an important step in the program to complete that. And there's a defense as well to complete and defend that 2nd year paper. Those are the key features, I think. Clemente can add if I've missed something there.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
You'd think I would learn Zoom by now. You guys can see there in the chat, there is a link to our website that will also link you. You can find the MIT political science page and look up all of the requirements that are necessary for the application. And also you can get that entire program structure, what that looks like. So you sort of get a visual of what Ben is talking about. And yeah, we can go into the scholar portion now to hear about Clemente's experience, unless, Ben, you had anything else to add? Nope. Okay, perfect. But for those who did recently just join the webinar, just as a reminder, you don't need a master's to apply to this program. Applications close on December 15th. And so now we'll chat with Clemente for about 5-10-ish minutes, hear his experience, and then there will be time for questions for those who do have them. So thank you for being here, Clemente. I know you're extremely busy studying. You're in front of Professor Ben, so you probably have to say that. If you could just briefly introduce yourself, your academic background, and why did you choose a PhD program?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Gabriel, for the invitation. Thank you, Ben, for very interesting overview. Great. Because I like to I really like to participate in this event, because like I've done it like the last 3 years, I think, and each time I've been like at a different stage, so I have very different things to say. Okay, so Gabriel shared with me like a little bit list of things that I could talk about. So yeah, I just wanted to underscore the fact that you like for example, I don't have a master's in anything. I did my undergrad. I did study my undergrad in political science. But then I didn't do any postgraduate degree before applying to PhD programs and starting at MIT. So that's definitely an optional thing. So yeah, I did my undergrad in political science. I studied at the Universidad Católica. And yeah, on why I chose to pursue a PhD at all, I mean, I was really interested in like pursuing an academic career. So to me, that seemed like the best option, especially like if you're interested in political science. I think like the US is perhaps the only choice for like contemporary, like thorough training in political science. And why MIT? I think, I mean, I was mostly drawn to like the what I think is like a great community, both you know, professors, students, and everybody that makes up the department. I think it's a very welcoming community. So that was a big chunk. Also very thorough in terms of training, both like content-wise, but also methods-wise. I thought that the department was a very solid option. And over the last couple of years, I think we've had like very good like people that have graduated from the department and gotten very good jobs, which is definitely encouraging. I personally really like Boston. I had been once to the city before, and I am a really big fan of the city. So the fact that MIT was in the Boston area was really a big additional pro. On the academic experience, so thus far I mean, I know it's very convenient, but I only have good things to say, I think. I've really enjoyed my last almost 4 years now in the program. Very good, I think, in the terms of training, but also in terms of like a personal experience as like as a human being is very nice. For example, okay, I was just going through the things that I wrote down. So yeah, so as Ben was mentioning, the first couple of years are more coursework oriented. Even though I studied political science for my undergrad, I still found it a very useful and like memorable stage of the program, because it was like, I think that like the level at which political science is taught in my undergrad is, of course, like by necessity, like of course different than the level that is taught here at a graduate level. And then once that's done, and then once generals is done, thankfully, you don't have to worry that much about that part of the program, but you do have to like carry out the main thing that you want to do, which is a dissertation project. And that new stage, which I've been doing over the last year and a half, has been really freeing, with a lot of support from the department, both in terms of like, you know, advice from professors, funding for field work, both internal, but also like, you know, some research budget that you can spend on whatever you want, research oriented every year. Support for presenting work at conferences, which I've done twice now in the last year. And in general, like a lot of support, which is, I think, very useful and very important in this process. Then, yeah, as Ben was mentioning, the fact that there's not a lot of undergrads means that there's not a lot of teaching requirements. But of course, I do really enjoy teaching. So being TA 2 semesters in a row was an excellent experience. And I was lucky enough that I could be a TA for both undergraduate and graduate classes. So that was, I really enjoyed it. And now I'm more, now I have more time because I'm only a research assistant. But that also like frees up time for like, you know, carrying out my dissertation, which has been very useful. Yeah, in terms of collaboration that Gabriel, like, you know, asked me to talk about. So for example, I've carried out projects with faculty, but now I'm carrying out a project with another student. And I think it's like a very welcoming environment and a very encouraging environment to collaborate. In terms of personal experience, I mean, it's been very good. I really like the city. I think even though it's a little cold in the winter, I mean, not anymore, sadly. But it's, I mean, I think Boston is a perfect city. I lived all my life in Santiago, and Boston is a much quieter, much more easygoing city and less busy. It's a lot more livable in my view. I mean, I've made great friends in the program. Yeah, so in that regard, like personal wise, it's been great. And yeah, in terms of advice, I don't have much advice to give because I feel like you only have an observation of size 1, so it's very hard to draw like, you know, conclusions about how to do things right. What I would maybe think is, you know, if you're thinking of applying to a political science PhD program or any PhD program, I think the most reasonable thing to do is to apply broadly, just because sometimes not to no fault of your own, you know, luck would have it that, like, you know, the program that you were a great fit to, you know, didn't have enough slots or whatever. So it's useful to apply broadly. I'm a big fan of the program, but yeah, under no circumstances should you apply. If you're really interested in carrying out a PhD, under no circumstances should you apply to fewer than, I don't know, 4 programs. I think I applied, for instance, I applied to 9 programs, which, you know, is, I think in like the middle of the distribution. I have friends that applied to like 15, which is a bit much. But you know, anything from like 6 to 9, I think is like very average. So yeah, so excited to hear your questions. I don't know if hopefully I went over everything, Gabriel. But yeah.
No, thank you, Clemente. That was great for you to touch on sort of your motivation as to why a PhD program, why MIT specifically, a bit of what that academic experience looks like, and actually living in Boston, being there on campus, interactions with the faculty, other international students, of course. I know that between the 10 to 12, Ben, please correct me if I'm wrong, there are quite a few international students. So there is sort of that diversity in the cohorts as well, and thus great exchange of ideas, knowledge, research as well. And in terms of the advice, apply broadly. Yeah, and we do know, again, as I mentioned, these it's important to take time in the application process, get that right, create your narrative. And yeah, happy to take questions at this point. And do feel free to write in the Q&A portion. Also, if you do want to raise your hand, we can unmute your mic. You can ask directly. This is a great opportunity. Professor Ben and Clemente are great sources of information for you guys, whether it's program related on the more technical side, or of course on the actual student personal experience to ask Clemente. So feel free. I know we have Damian in the crowd, Ignacio, Isidora, Joaquin, Jocelyn, Martina, Paula, Rodrigo, Valentina. If any of you guys do have any questions, we are more than happy to answer those.
Let me just add to what Clemente was saying about, you know, the application process, that it really does take several months to at least to kind of put things together. And the most important things to put together are these 2 statements that students are required to write. And one is sort of a personal journey of how you got to thinking about an academic career, sort of things. Sometimes discussing the kinds of obstacles you had to overcome and so forth. And then the second is much more why it is you want to study the topic you're interested in. And this is sort of also kind of more of an intellectual journey, how you sort of thought through, you know, I started with interest in X, and then I moved on and developed that into something else, and so forth. So the admissions committee has a good sense of, you know, who you are and where you're coming from, and what you're likely to be able to focus on in graduate school.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. Martina, we do have a question from Martina. She says, hi, Clemente. She would like to ask you about your research experience before you applied to the program.
I'm sorry, my what experience?
Your research experience. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that there's a separate.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did my undergrad in political science at the Católica. There we were like encouraged to do some sort of like undergraduate thesis, which was, I think, my biggest like research experience like during university. I mean, I was also like research assistant to like professors during like summer and research and winter breaks and such. But I think when I applied, I had like, I had basic, and as Ben was mentioning, like among all the like the documents, the material that you have to prepare for the application, one of the things is like, for instance, a research like a manuscript of something, a writing sample, I think it's called the writing sample. And I used that like undergraduate thesis as a writing sample, basically. At the same time, I also submitted to a journal, but at the moment that I was accepted into the program, I didn't have any publications or anything. So I had some experience with like conducting research and being like a research assistant, but like no publication record. And you know, Ben can correct me if that's wrong, but like, of course, that can be a plus or a minus, but I feel like what most they're looking for is like, you know, potential rather than like a track record, or I don't know, that's me purely speculating. But yeah, that's on my end.
No, that's exactly right. There's no expectation of publications or when you're applying. We want to have some input into the publications. So We want you to wait and publish later. But the researcher's experience is important. It's not sort of a prerequisite that you spend a year or two doing research, but the committee will be interested to see if you've had experience doing research, and that experience has made you think, oh, this is something I would want to do for many years. So that it's important. Some people think it might be interesting to do a PhD, but have not had that kind of research experience, so they don't know what they're getting into. So we're looking for people who really said, I've had that experience and I want to keep it going.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben. And we also do have a question from Damien. He is wondering about background needed in political science. He's an economist with a master's degree, experience working in public policy and research, mainly with economists, and he's wondering if he could be a possible match for the program.
Yes, definitely. We have nothing against economists. We sometimes talk to them. I mean, I will say there isn't a lot of interaction between economics and political science at MIT, but we certainly have. In fact, one of our Chilean students did do an undergraduate degree in economics and then decided that he wanted to move over to political science. So we're certainly open to that. But we like to think you've had some exposure to political science, or as you mentioned, public policy, just so you have an idea of what you're getting into, and to be able to discuss your interests in a way that sort of, fits in political science. And sometimes the economists, I mean, if you had economist training, then some parts of the methods program can be a little easier. And people are, well, particularly, we have something that's not common throughout the United States, but we do have this field of political economy. So that's also an area where sort of background in economics can be quite useful.
Great, thank you. Damian, we hope that you are now encouraged to apply, whether that be this year, next year, can join Clemente in the next cohort. Those I'm seeing are all the questions that we have. Again, this webinar is certainly for informative purposes, that you guys have the information on hand, both in the terms of the program side, the application process can all be found on the website, and also from the scholar experience side. So we will send you all of these links, presentation via email, alongside a recording of this. And then, of course, you can always reach out to the MIT Political Science Department, ask them any questions regarding the application process or program structure. I know Clemente has also mentioned, if anyone has questions on the more of the personal experience and student perspective, do feel free to write to us. We can provide you with his contact so you can ask those questions. It probably is important to start making connections, or at least reaching out to students or graduates who have done this program, to see exactly, right, would this be the right fit for you, how to go best about applying, even just generally to doctorate programs. And we do look forward to meeting the next Luksic Scholar. So best of luck to those who apply, and we do look forward to hearing from you, and best of luck in the application process. So thank you, Professor Ben and Clemente, for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for organizing.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, yeah, I mean, Gabrielle has my email and she can share with you guys. If anybody wants to chat like over Zoom or whatever, I'd love to, yeah. But yeah, thank you for the invitation again, and thank you. It was very nice.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Take care, everyone. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of the afternoon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.